The room was thick with silence, pierced only by the faint flicker of a single candle. Michael knelt, hands trembling as he whispered a prayer he barely believed. The air tasted metallic, heavy with unseen pressure. Shadows on the cracked walls danced against the feeble glow, stretching and twisting unnaturally. Suddenly, the candle burst into a blinding white fire, illuminating the tall silhouette in the center. Its edges shimmered like molten silver. Michael's heart pounded as the figure's presence pressed upon him, silent yet overwhelming. A voice echoed inside his chest. "You have been seen." Every nerve in his body felt the weight of truth he couldn't yet understand. Michael sank to the floor, chest heaving, trying to process the vision that had just unfolded. Doubt clashed with a strange certainty, a pull toward something greater. Memories of lost chances and neglected prayers crowded his mind. He whispered into the thick silence, "Why me?" Shadows seemed to recoil from the room's center, and yet the sense of being watched remained unshakable. Every sound, every breath felt amplified, pressing him into an uncomfortable intimacy with the unknown. A cold breeze brushed his neck, but no windows were open. Something unseen had entered his life, and Michael could no longer deny it. The memory of simpler times came unbidden. Sunlight on the park, laughter from a friend now lost. Michael felt a pang of guilt, a longing for redemption he did not deserve. Each regret weighed heavier as he realized the depth of his spiritual disconnection. The room seemed alive, whispering secrets he had long ignored. He closed his eyes, attempting to gather courage, but the pull of the figure's presence remained. Questions pressed upon him. Could he be forgiven? Could he change? And most terrifying, what did the figure want from him? A sudden knock echoed through the silence, sharp and impossible. Michael jumped, heart racing. He hesitated before standing, eyes darting toward the door. No one should be here. The weight of unseen eyes pressed down again. The figure's presence lingered, even as reality returned. He whispered a shaky prayer, unsure if it reached anyone. The air vibrated faintly, as if responding. Michael's chest tightened with anticipation and fear, knowing that the night would demand more than answers. It would demand courage, confrontation, and a reckoning with the truths he had buried. Michael's gaze shifted back to the center of the room. The shadows seemed to pulse, breathing in rhythm with his own. He felt the gravity of the figure's scrutiny, a silent demand to confront himself. A flicker of hope mingled with fear. Perhaps this was not punishment, but an opportunity. Memories of betrayal, mistakes, and pain converged in a torrent of realization. He exhaled slowly, resolving to face whatever truths awaited him. The room, once oppressive, now held a strange promise, that through this night, through this encounter, he might find clarity, redemption, or at least a glimpse of understanding. Michael sat by the window, rain tapping rhythmically against the glass. Memories of past mistakes weighed heavily, guilt gnawing at his chest. He remembered broken promises and friendships, lost to neglect. The figure's presence lingered in his mind, a persistent echo that refused dismissal. He closed his eyes, heart pounding, and whispered a prayer for guidance he wasn't sure would come. Fear and hope clashed violently inside him. Every shadow seemed alive, twisting with unspoken judgment. Something inside urged him to face these buried regrets. He felt the pull of change, a tension between denial and awakening. That night, Michael dreamed of a glowing figure hovering above a foggy field. Its presence was gentle but insistent, urging him to remember long-forgotten truths. He felt both comforted and terrified, unable to move or speak. Faces from his past appeared in the mist, each carrying a weight of unresolved pain. Whispers of guidance brushed his mind, leaving cryptic impressions he could barely grasp. He awoke with a start, heart racing, drenched in sweat. Questions about forgiveness and redemption pressed harder than ever. Could he change the course of his life before it was too late? The dream lingered, relentless and vivid. The next morning, Michael awoke to muted sunlight streaming through the blinds. He felt a mixture of clarity and unease. The memory of the dream gnawed at him, pressing him toward introspection. He recalled moments of selfishness and avoidance, each memory a mirror reflecting his inner darkness. He wandered through the apartment, touching objects that held fragments of past choices. Each step seemed weighted, as if unseen eyes tracked him. The presence from the vision remained, a quiet insistence he could no longer ignore. His mind raced with the possibility of redemption, but fear still held him tightly in its grip. Later that day, Michael encountered his friend David, skeptical and sharp-tongued. "You've been acting strangely," David said, brow furrowed, suspicion in his tone. Michael hesitated, struggling to explain visions and feelings that defied logic. Doubt battled with honesty, as each word seemed inadequate. David's eyes searched for answers, a mixture of concern and disbelief. Michael realized that his journey toward understanding would be complicated by those who could not see beyond the ordinary. The friction left him unsettled, questioning whether he could share the weight of what he had experienced. Fear of judgment threatened to pull him back into silence. As night fell, Michael returned to the apartment, feeling the lingering weight of the day. He sat alone, fingers brushing over worn photographs, memories of mistakes and missed chances flashing before him. The room seemed charged with quiet energy, as if awaiting a decision he had yet to make. He whispered prayers into the empty space, half believing in their efficacy. Somewhere deep inside, the figure from his dream seemed to watch, patient but expectant. Michael's heart ached with the desire for change and the fear of failing. He realized the path ahead required courage, honesty, and surrender to truths he had long denied. Michael awoke to a soft shimmering light filling the room. The figure from his vision stood before him, radiant and calm. Its eyes held a depth that seemed to pierce through every fear and doubt. Michael's breath caught as a voice resonated, clear and intimate. "You cannot hide from what is within." Memories of pain and regret surged forward, but instead of shame, he felt a strange clarity. The figure moved slowly, each gesture deliberate, as if guiding him toward understanding. Michael realized this encounter was no dream. It was a call to confront truths long buried, and to accept that transformation demanded courage. The figure gestured, revealing fleeting visions of Michael's past, choices made in fear, words left unspoken, opportunities lost. Michael's chest tightened as each memory pressed on him. The weight of guilt and shame was almost tangible, yet the figure's presence offered a strange solace. "To forgive yourself," the voice intoned, "is the first step toward freedom." Michael's eyes welled with unshed tears. He felt a tremor of hope mingled with fear. Could he truly embrace redemption? The visions receded, leaving him with a stillness that demanded reflection, as if the figure had unlocked a door he never knew existed. Later, Michael met David at a quiet cafe. David's skeptical eyes studied him, searching for lies or exaggeration. Michael struggled to describe the visions and the figure, words faltering as disbelief clashed with reality. The air between them thickened with tension. David shook his head, voice firm. "I don't see anything, Michael. Are you sure it's not all in your head?" Michael swallowed, feeling the fragility of truth against doubt. Yet a quiet conviction pulsed within him. The encounter reinforced the need to trust what he had experienced, even if no one else could. He understood that faith in himself was the first step toward embracing the unseen. That evening, Michael returned to his apartment, still processing the day. He saw the figure again, standing near the window, silver edges glimmering. "Your fear binds you," it said, voice gentle yet firm. Michael felt a chill and a surge of warmth simultaneously. Every unresolved guilt, every hidden regret pressed in, yet he no longer felt crushed. The figure's presence illuminated a path forward, a sequence of choices and honesty he had avoided. Michael's heart pounded, not with fear, but anticipation. He realized his journey toward redemption was beginning in earnest, and the unseen guide would accompany him through each revelation. As night deepened, Michael knelt in the center of the room, candlelight flickering across his features. He closed his eyes, whispering apologies for past failings and unspoken fears. The figure hovered silently, radiating reassurance. Michael felt the weight of judgment lift slightly, replaced by a fragile sense of hope. A tear slid down his cheek as he accepted the truth. He could not change the past, but he could choose the next step. The presence of the figure was no longer threatening. It was a mirror reflecting potential, courage, and the promise of transformation. Michael exhaled, ready to embrace the path unfolding before him. Michael awoke to an unsettling darkness, the room heavier than before. A shadow moved at the edge of his vision, darker than night itself. The figure's light seemed distant now, fragile. His chest tightened as doubt and fear surged. Every step felt precarious, as if the very floor resisted him. The shadow whispered temptations, old fears, failures he thought buried. Michael's hands trembled, but he forced them to stay steady. The room seemed to pulse with expectation. A cold draft wrapped around him, carrying the weight of unseen challenges. He realized tonight would test more than courage, it would test his spirit. The shadow advanced, swirling with whispers of failure and regret. Michael's heart raced, legs frozen, hands clenching. The figure's light flickered, struggling against the encroaching darkness. Memories of mistakes pressed in, nearly suffocating him. Fear battled hope, threatening to undo all he had learned. Yet in the depth of terror, he felt a stirring, a quiet resilience. He took a slow, deliberate breath, reminding himself of the figure's guidance. Each inhale fortified his courage. Each exhale released the weight of self-condemnation. He realized the shadow's power existed only through his fear, and facing it required unwavering intent. The luminous figure stepped closer, radiating steady calm. "Fear is your teacher, not your master," it whispered. Michael's hands unclenched slowly, and he felt a tremor of peace seep in. The shadow recoiled slightly, reacting to the figure's presence. Memories of past wrongs shifted in his mind, no longer chains but lessons. Michael felt clarity forming, a realization that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. He moved forward cautiously, facing the darkness with intent. Each step felt deliberate, strengthening his resolve and weakening the shadow's hold. Outside, David walked past the apartment, unaware of the spiritual confrontation within. Michael glanced toward the window, momentarily thinking of his friend's skepticism. The figure whispered that doubt from others could neither guide nor hinder his path, only his choices mattered. Michael felt a surge of independence and determination. He knew his journey was solitary at this stage. Fear's grip loosened, replaced by a steady pulse of courage. He took another deep breath, feeling the room's energy shift. The shadow recoiled further, but Michael remained calm, steady, unyielding. Tonight was the proving ground. As the first light of dawn crept through the blinds, the shadow dissipated entirely, leaving the room bathed in a serene glow. Michael sank to the floor, exhausted but victorious. The luminous figure hovered above him, silent, affirming. A weight lifted from his chest, replaced by a fragile but resolute hope. Michael realized that this night had tested his spirit, forcing him to confront fear, doubt, and regret simultaneously. The encounter left him transformed, aware that courage was a choice, and that every step forward required honesty and trust. He exhaled deeply, ready to embrace the path the figure had illuminated. Michael stood in the center of the room, heart hammering as the shadow manifested fully, taller, darker, more oppressive than before. Its presence was suffocating, a reflection of every fear he had ever buried. The luminous figure remained nearby, steady, radiating calm energy that cut through the darkness. Michael's chest tightened with panic, but he forced himself to breathe deeply, focusing on the figure's guidance. The shadow's whispers grew louder, tempting him to retreat, to surrender to old habits. He clenched his fists, knowing this confrontation was the crucible of his transformation, the ultimate test of his courage. Memories of mistakes and regrets swirled around Michael, pressing into his mind. He felt a tidal wave of shame, each recollection intensified by the shadow's presence. Yet the luminous figure's calm gaze anchored him. Your past does not define you, it whispered. Michael inhaled slowly, feeling a new kind of strength emerge. The shadow hissed, recoiling from the growing light within him. He realized that acceptance of his past without self-condemnation was the key to disarming the darkness. Each thought of fear and guilt became lighter, fading under the steady glow of awareness and courage. The shadow lashed outward, striking at Michael with cold, invisible force. He stumbled but did not fall, grounding himself with a deep breath and steady gaze at the luminous figure. Every ounce of fear threatened to overwhelm him, yet he held firm. The figure extended a hand, light pulsing outward, touching Michael's chest, filling him with warmth. Michael felt a surge of clarity, as though every doubt and regret had been catalogued and weighed, and none condemned him unfairly. The shadow shrieked, recoiling violently, powerless against the newfound light within him. Courage and grace now intertwined, a force stronger than the darkness itself. The room vibrated subtly with the fading energy of the shadow. Michael's chest heaved, sweat glistening on his forehead, but a serene calm replaced panic. The luminous figure stood tall, radiating reassurance and strength. Michael's eyes glistened with tears of relief and awe. He realized the shadow was not an enemy, but a test, a mirror of every unaddressed fear and guilt. The figure's voice spoke again. You have faced yourself. Now you may choose the path of light. Michael exhaled slowly, feeling the last remnants of doubt dissolve. He had been tested, and he had endured, emerging stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace the transformation awaiting him. As dawn approached, Michael knelt on the floor, exhausted but triumphant. Candlelight flickered gently, blending with the first rays of morning. The luminous figure hovered above, silent, radiating approval and calm. Michael's mind felt lighter, a harmony of courage, acceptance, and clarity. He whispered a final prayer, not out of fear, but out of gratitude and resolve. The journey ahead would still challenge him, yet he understood that he possessed the inner strength to face it. The shadow was gone, and with it, the weight of unacknowledged fears. Michael rose slowly, feeling the promise of redemption and the quiet power of faith guiding each step forward. Morning sunlight streamed gently through the blinds as Michael sat quietly on the floor, feeling a rare serenity settle over him. The luminous figure hovered nearby, radiating a calm warmth that eased every lingering tension. Michael reflected on the challenges he had faced, recognizing the courage he had summoned in the confrontation with darkness. Gratitude welled within him for the guidance that had illuminated his path. Every breath felt intentional, a conscious acknowledgement of his growth. The room seemed alive with possibility, each ray of light a reminder that he could choose hope and clarity, moving forward with purpose. Michael stood and moved around the room, touching familiar objects with renewed appreciation. Each item carried fragments of his past, yet he no longer felt burdened by regret. The luminous figure followed, guiding him gently with subtle radiance. He whispered apologies into the stillness, not for punishment, but to acknowledge mistakes and release them. A sense of liberation filled his chest, a fragile but undeniable relief. Michael realized redemption was not an endpoint, but a choice to embrace clarity, compassion, and understanding in every step forward. The light in the room seemed to pulse with his newfound resolve. Later, Michael reached for his phone, hesitating briefly before calling a friend he had wronged years ago. His fingers trembled slightly, but he pressed onward, determined to make amends. The luminous figure remained silently, observing with patient encouragement. Each word he spoke carried sincerity, carrying weight and intention he had never fully grasped before. Michael felt a deep emotional release as forgiveness began to ripple outward, both for others and himself. He understood that redemption required action as much as reflection, and each choice could illuminate the path to lasting peace. Michael stepped outside for the first time in hours, breathing in fresh morning air. Sunlight touched his face, carrying a gentle warmth that seemed to cleanse lingering doubt. He noticed the vibrancy of the world around him, the rustling leaves, distant laughter, the hum of life, and felt connected in a way he had not before. The luminous figure lingered near the window, its glow soft but unwavering. Michael's chest felt lighter, each step purposeful. He understood that redemption and growth were ongoing, and that courage, honesty, and faith would guide him forward through every challenge and choice. As evening approached, Michael returned home, feeling a quiet confidence settle within him. The room, once heavy with shadows and tension, now felt warm and open. He knelt briefly, offering a silent moment of gratitude for the journey that had brought him here. The luminous figure hovered silently, its presence comforting yet unobtrusive. Michael recognized that transformation was a process, but he now possessed the clarity and courage to navigate it. He rose slowly, aware that each day offered opportunities for growth, forgiveness, and light. The evening sun bathed the room in soft amber, marking the beginning of a new chapter in his life. Michael sat quietly by the window, the city bathed in soft morning light. Reflection filled him as he considered the journey he had endured. Fear, doubt, and guilt had once ruled him, yet now a sense of calm courage anchored his heart. The luminous figure appeared once more, hovering nearby, silver edges soft against the sunlit room. Michael understood that his awakening was ongoing, and each choice from this moment forward mattered. The presence of light no longer intimidated him, it inspired trust and awareness. A quiet gratitude filled his chest, a recognition of how far he had come and the path still unfolding. The luminous figure spoke softly, "Your journey is yours to continue, but the light is always with you." Michael nodded, absorbing the meaning, feeling a deep connection to the unseen guidance that had shaped him. He realized that spiritual awakening was not a single moment, but a series of choices, reflections, and action. Each breath, each decision could honor the lessons learned and strengthen the courage within. The figure's presence faded slowly, leaving a gentle warmth that lingered in the room. Michael's heart felt lighter, as though the universe itself acknowledged his resilience and commitment to growth. Later, Michael met David once more at a quiet cafe. This time, his words carried calm assurance rather than doubt. David's skepticism softened as he sensed a quiet change in Michael, a subtle strength in his presence. Michael shared glimpses of his experiences, not as proof, but as insight into growth and courage. David listened, intrigued yet cautious, and Michael realized that the journey of awakening could touch others indirectly, inspiring reflection without forcing belief. The exchange felt gentle but significant, a bridge between understanding and skepticism. Michael knew the path ahead was ongoing, yet brighter. As evening fell, Michael returned home and paused in the center of his apartment. Shadows softened in the fading light, and the space felt open, expansive. He reflected on every challenge, every revelation, and every act of courage that had led him here. The luminous figure no longer needed to appear. Its lessons had been internalized. Michael breathed deeply, feeling a profound sense of peace. The journey was far from over, but the weight of fear and doubt no longer constrained him. Each step forward would now be guided by clarity, courage, and faith, a quiet mastery over the darkness that had once consumed him. In the final moments, Michael knelt briefly, hands resting lightly on the wooden floor, eyes closed. A gentle breeze stirred through the room, carrying the subtle warmth of the day's fading light. He whispered a final acknowledgement of gratitude, courage, and hope. The room held a serene silence, a reflection of the inner harmony he had cultivated. Michael rose slowly, feeling ready for the life ahead, empowered by lessons learned and the quiet, enduring presence of unseen guidance. The journey had transformed him, leaving an imprint of clarity, redemption, and spiritual awakening that would resonate in every choice to come.